think you say, ew, gross, because Rusty loves me. Ew, gross.
What's up, y'all? Let's turn up right here. Let's go.
Hey, how are ya?
What's going on, Jack?
Not too much. Not too much. Just you and I today. We got some fun little topics. I mean, we were talking earlier today. We got into some, some non-hockey things. I think we'll just start. We'll use hockey as the escape that it is. The world's kind of a crazy place. This is a hockey show. So, figure we can talk about the Bruins. They got San Jose tonight. Yeah, I mean, anything recently about the Bruins?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an exciting time for the Bruins here, leading right into playoffs. We still got a little bit to go, but I think the thing that we keep bringing up on most of our conversations is just, if you go a year back from today, like we would be super pumped at where the Bruins are at, and just not even this main team, obviously, but just like the organization as a whole, like it looks a lot different, right? You have the prospect pool, including your college guys too. Like we're going tomorrow, which I'm pumped for. But the BC game, they're playing UMaine, right?
Yeah, Conti
So
Forum. We'll be there. Gross will be in the
sick,
building.
sick place, unreal. Saying goes though, if anyone's over there, pulled pork sandwich, unreal. We're gonna kill probably three of those, maybe. Might take the over on that. A couple brews.
I think that's a safe bet. Yeah,
For sure.
those pulled pork sandwiches are pretty good. And yeah, it'll be a good game. We'll see. I mean, it doesn't really matter the way it goes, right? Like we're both probably rooting for BC, but if they lose, kind of leads into like the biggest thing we could probably talk about. It seems like James Hagens he's a Bruin pretty soon.
Yeah, could be real soon, like you just led into. I mean, seeing how that game goes tomorrow, I'm with you. Obviously, I would like to see BC win. Think it'd be kind of cool to see them go on a bit of a run. Like we were saying, the Bruins have a ton of prospects over there. It's like the junior Bruins.
Yeah, for real.
So definitely want that. But yeah, I mean, it'd be cool too, right? We could probably lead into that conversation that we had earlier and even last night. But you look at Hagens, the development side of it, where you see him on this team. It's like even if they don't win, right? He gets a little bit more time. I would imagine he plays, a couple of games in prov just to see how he looks, how he responds to a different pace, different style of play. Like the biggest thing that I think is cool with any professional hockey for the most part, like obviously NHL, AHL, is like the systems in the game are so identifiable in comparison to college hockey, right? So you go in different like aspects, right? Like you have prep hockey in high school, which you start to see that happen, right? Strategies, and like you can really see it. And then as you go up, D3 hockey, you see it a little bit more, juniors, and then obviously NCAA D1. But I just think it's cool to see in those programs, like watching him try to kind of merge into that, taking what he already knows, but you really do have to fit into a system, which I would say Providence probably plays relatively similar to Boston, just in the grand scheme of things if you're pulling guys up. But I
Definitely.
just want to see the reaction from him and see what he looks like once he gets onto professional ice.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about like the easy comparison is McAvoy, right? Because he came out of BU, right near the playoffs, a similar situation. I think he got one game in Providence, and they had seen enough. They were like, "All right, he's good." And I think they had some injuries as well. But yeah, I mean, to your point, I mean, yeah, Providence probably. I really don't know, especially with like the way the Bruins are playing this year. I don't know how similar it is, but the Bruins in the last 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 years, I feel like they've kept a similar identity and they've made changes, right? Like you look at going back to Bruce Cassidy, it was a very like possession and quantity of shot kind of formula that they were looking at. Then they hired Montgomery, and it seemed like his main approach was he wanted to get the defenseman more active and he wanted to focus more on the quality of shots as opposed to the quantity. Like that's kind of obviously a simplification, but when talking about differences, so yeah, I would imagine Providence is pretty similar. So I think it's a good spot, like you said, like throw him up when they're gonna sign him, right? Like I don't see a reality where he does another year at BC at this point. Seems like everything's pointing to that. So yeah, it would make a lot of sense. Throw him in Providence, and if you immediately see like this kid, like I kind of said this to you on the phone, but the way I see him and his only real issue that I foresee in the NHL, especially now, is just like the physicality of the game. Like I don't really think the speed of the game is going to be a huge factor. So I think the way the way his motor works, the way he's highly skilled, he's a great skater. He seems to read the game pretty well. I see him jumping into Providence, getting a game or two. Maybe doesn't have 5, 6 points, but like shows his offensive skill. And I think the Bruins bring him up and try to throw him into that lineup.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I agree with you. I do think the physicality aspect is something with hockey. I feel like in every stage of hockey, that conversation is brought up, right? Like you have kids that want to play juniors, and you always hear about the period of time just that it takes for an adjustment. So I do think that you're expecting and anticipating that to happen. I will say, I mean, we've had conversations about just his point production, right? Or different players in D1 NCAA Hockey East. Like, in it, I feel like that league has changed also so much where like you have some of these guys that, are 23, 24 years old that he's playing against. So I do think it is good that that's where he's coming from. I've seen a couple of clips. There's one maybe last week I saw that he got hit pretty hard. But those guys, I mean, he's so shifty, right? He's like a little shimmy neutron. How are you? So he'll avoid hits. I mean, you do hope that, he doesn't get caught with a blind side or something. But that's why I think going to Providence will be good. He should be able to be right in the mix there and kind of get his feet wet. And then, like you said, right, like Chucky Mack, it was a quick kind of an eye test, different situation with him. But I think it could be similar where it's like if he's bringing a certain value that you don't currently have on this Bruins team, or he can add to a point of a weakness, I agree with you. I don't think Donnie Sweens is going to have any issues kind of, giving him a few games, especially on the big club. So, yeah, I mean, I don't have too much more on Hagens.
Yeah.
I think.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go.
No, I was just gonna say, like, to your point about the hits, like I'm not saying, purely he's just gonna get his head taken off. Obviously, I hope not. But I think it's a real skill to be able to kind of like protect yourself out there. And a huge part of it is like your head being up, right? Like I think you see certain guys like Matt Poitras, like he kind of just he's a really small guy, and I think he was an easy target. Hagens is just gonna have to be really shifty, to your point. Um, and like
And
when
it's a puck possession thing too, right?
yeah,
Like we talked, a lot about that with Potter. Like we both really like his game, and he's a very like a heady player, right? He's got a good head on his shoulders. But the thing with him is like he almost prioritized puck possession so much that then put him in bad spots. So it was a mix between like you would see him roll out of a corner sometimes with his head down, which is never a good thing. But then you add it also that he's trying to hold on to a puck for 45 seconds. So I feel like the clips that we've seen, we went to a BC game before, like I think one of the best selling points with Hagens is his ability to move the puck. Like
I think it's a great point.
I don't know if his
Yeah,
head goes down at all, man.
yeah,
Remember
he
that
doesn't.
clip?
Yeah, he doesn't know what color the puck is. That's for sure.
No,
No,
he thinks it might be square too, dude. I don't even think he knows the shape of it.
yeah, he doesn't know how big it is. He doesn't. He really is not familiar with the puck at all. But he seems to always have it. Yeah, I mean, Matt Poitras, like that's a really insightful point, honestly, because yeah, he did hold on. He liked to pull up to look for that like the trailing defenseman or whatever, where like to your point, yeah, Hagens is much more of a quick puck mover, and that's part of how you can protect yourself, right? Because if you move the puck with enough distance between you and the guy who potentially could be coming to take your head off, then that's now an illegal check, right? So that player is most likely not going to make that hit. So I like that. And yeah, I was actually like you just mentioned going to the game. I was just gonna uh add in as well that like I like the chippiness to his game. He's a feisty little player, and I think that's that's important. And actually, Matt Poitras is a lot of the same way. He's fought in Providence, so those are two good signs for some young prospects. But yeah, obviously we can move on. We're gonna go to that game. We'll probably post a video or something, and hopefully he plays well. Hopefully they win. But even if they don't, like we said, like this could expedite kind of him coming into the lineup. And I think we could transition a little bit over into the deadline because, in my opinion, of really what happened and the way the Bruins looked at it, we've talked for a while about not being like rental or just even making a huge trade that's kind of win now because of where they're at. I think they looked at James Hagens as really part of their rental up front and like a deadline acquisition, excuse me. And similar to Arvidsson. Now they may sign Victor Arvidsson, but I feel like I was pretty steady on the point or my belief that I didn't think they were going to move Arvidsson despite what his value may have been, just because, this team really, we've talked about it a lot, right? Their biggest holes are probably an elite forward and a top four right defenseman. So they don't have enough skill up front. They really play a good all around game and they wear teams down and they can win 2-1, 3-1, 3-2. But they need more firepower. And I think Hagens is kind of exactly the guy who can bring that.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I know the conversations we've had, different kind of line combos just spewing. It's exciting on that front just because, yeah, he does add, like I said before, he does add to maybe a weakness you have right now. And definitely you were talking about that for a while with not moving Arvidsson. It does make sense. It just, you never know what the market's going to dictate. I feel like some years it's a guy like that, the return that he could possibly get is kind of eye-opening. And then there's other times that it's not. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and I would even add that, like, to your what you just said, even Arvidsson kind of maybe somewhat comparable to a John Carlson on Washington, who, like, that's a team, they're kind of in the fight still, and they sold off like a huge piece of their team simply because the other team wanted it bad enough and ponied up the assets. I think Victor Arvidsson could have been a good fit, but I also think part of the reason he's been so successful, and we've talking about this a little bit as well, is his line mates and his line and really his fit on this team being a high volume shooter on a team that really doesn't have guys who put the puck in the net outside of Pastrnak and then 20 feet and then Morgan Geeky. Victor Arvidsson's a huge piece of that. So I'm glad they didn't move him. I really think it would have been kind of like sinking the ship of this team and their chances to win, to make it into the playoffs. We see how tight it is still. But I mean, their moves, Lucas Reichel, I saw he actually just scored the overtime winner for Providence last night. And actually, I don't know if you've seen, I know you've been aware a little bit of just how dominant Providence has been.
yeah, I mean, they've been unreal. I mean, outside of the one game we went to.
Yeah, for real.
Of course, that's the gross hockey luck there. But
But dude,
yeah,
their win percentage, real quick, is like they just broke a franchise record. Sorry, point
Yeah.
percentage, I think. 0.75 of every single game they get a point out of. It's
yeah,
absurd.
it's crazy.
Having a crazy
Yeah,
year.
they've been rolling, and it's just a testament to what kind of we've been saying. Like the Bruins haven't been in this position for a very long time. Tying that back to the point that you just brought up of the deadline and how they were valuing those players. Like just what was out there that you were really willing to blow up what you have. I don't think any of it was really worth it. And it's just like I feel like that's the difference between good organizations to great organizations to horrible organizations. It's from the top down, making just decisions, not just quick decisions, but like
Patient.
kind of, yeah, like patient, but then also the flip side of that of just kind of making something because it looks good right away. And especially, I feel like in hockey, and mainly obviously the NHL, it gets exposed very easily.
And big
You see,
market too, right?
yeah, you see some deals that just are absolutely horrible, right? Like the immediate gratification of the deal, the big name, the whatever it is, it's great. And then, a year goes by or 2 years into that contract, you're like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
So I was just happy with that. I think it's kind of that Christmas morning feeling that gets tough. Like someone asked Sweeney about that. They were just like, what was your outlook on obviously the deadline, what you were thinking, your emotions around it, everything, like if you wanted to do more moves by seeing other teams that were doing moves, like does that make you more inclined to want to do something? And he's like, yeah, obviously you see other teams doing it, you want to jump in the mix. You feel like it's kind of that missing out feeling, the
Yeah.
FOMO.
You look
So
at Columbus, like they're battling the Bruins for a spot right now, and they made a move. So
yeah,
to your point, yeah, absolutely. I mean, but I agree. Like not knowing when we were talking about this a little bit the other day too, is like knowing when to put your cards into the middle of the table and knowing when to fold, right, or to hold or stand pat. Like they ended up standing pat, and one other thing about the Bruins deadline I wanted to mention is a lot of people I see online too were clamoring to move Andrew Peak, who is a guy who like I've liked him in Boston. I think you probably have as well. Has he been unbelievable? No. And this is kind of what my point was I think it's like sometimes people assume that there's value for players that there just may not be. Like Mackenzie Weegar, yeah, he's a little bit older than you'd prefer, and his numbers might be down, but he's on one of the worst teams in the league. But like that's a guy a lot of teams wanted. Andrew Peak, I don't know. And my argument would be, I mean, what do the Bruins need? We just said a top four right defenseman. So the Bruins looking to trade Andrew Peak to other teams is like, you guys need right defensemen. You need good right defensemen. And you're a bubble playoff team. And he's sometimes not even cracking your lineup. So to me, it doesn't surprise me that a deal wasn't made there. Because I bet Sweeney would have done it if he could have gotten a second round pick. But I just don't know if the market was really there. I think guys want to move. They'll overpay for certain guys, but you're not overpaying for Andrew Peak. Like it would just be silly. The Bruins got him for like a sixth round pick a couple of years ago. So
I just think too, like the way this year has gone, it almost put a limit on what activity was going to happen at the trade deadline. Like you saw some big names get moved earlier, which you're starting to see more of every year.
Panarin.
But then also, you kind of look at the way the league's been, and it's so tight. There isn't that like dominant force really, where it's like you think of the Bruins in 23, right? Hate to bring it up, we always find a way to though. You have a
What happened?
absolute. I don't know, dude. I still find myself watching behind the B of that year sometimes, just
Yeah.
to feel something.
Well, because I just like my memory goes from like April, I think it was April like 9th or something. I just don't remember what happened the next week.
Yeah, deleted. Control Alt Delete from the memory bank. It's gone. But you look at like a team like that, and it's like you said. I mean, you're throwing everything on the table to try to chase after the cup. Where I feel like a year like this, it's kind of hard for a lot of teams to justify it,
Mm.
just because it is like how much better are you truly making your club, and what is the difference going to be between you and the team that's on your tail right now, and
Yeah.
now you're in a deal where it's not great. The long term ROI on the player isn't amazing. And then that's where small decisions can set organizations back pretty quickly.
100%. Yeah. No, I mean, dude, I'm huge on like as a hockey fan and someone who wishes he was the GM of an NHL team, like just asset management and what that means and utilizing your draft picks and your young players and your positions and your salary cap wherever you are on the spectrum of any of that, just using it to better position your club, to your point, and put them in a better spot. I think Don Sweeney's very smart. He's a very good general manager. He takes a lot of heat. I've said that here before. But I also think, what he did last year was just really, as a Bruins fan, like you said, like a lot of teams don't have the ability to do that. And I think for a fan to be a fan of a team like the Bruins, it's really positive to see that they were willing to take two steps back, take a breath, and kind of retool this thing, because we are looking at a team, like you said at the beginning, that they're in a really good spot.
Definitely. I mean, I like exactly where they're at.
Yeah.
As much as like you want them to go on and win a cup right now, I think you got to look at it, by yourself, taking a couple steps back and just looking at the whole picture. It's like the main thing is you just don't want to waste years of your core, which I feel like that's always kind of the devil on the shoulder that you keep kind of hearing. But you really do look at it, and they're not that far off, right? So it's if you can position yourself by not making bad moves and then seeing what you have, there's a lot of like unknowns right now, right? You don't know how Hagens is going to look. You don't know, next year if Letourneau, I would imagine he's going back for another year at BC. Does he keep up the pace? Does he actually look better? I mean, the trajectory of your team changes a lot just by these pieces on the outside. And next year brings a new value on who's available. What does the league look like next year? Are there teams that are still completely out of the mix that now players start getting frustrated and they want out? I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen. So,
And when you look at what you just said about the prospects and what they could be, I also wanted to mention about the draft picks that they have. Like when you own your own pick, you kind of have a decent idea, right? But the Leafs and the Panthers picks that they have in the next 2 years, supposedly the Leafs this year, both of those picks could end up sliding back as far as 2028. The Florida pick could go back a year, and this Toronto pick could actually go back 2. And I just think, those are really good assets for the Bruins, like just doubling down on that Carlo trade. And we could talk a little bit about Minton here too. But, they don't have to use that pick that Toronto gave them. Like if this doesn't end up being this year's, that's a pretty good asset. You can now trade a first for a good player in the future if that player becomes available. So I agree. I want to talk a little bit about Minton, because we were talking about this the other day as well, and just start with kind of Elias Lindholm. And everybody who watches this team in any capacity knows they paid him too much. Now that happens. Like you can't build a team via free agency. You're going to overpay for guys. We know that. Now it's okay if you can give other deals out that are fair. You just really can't afford like another big bad contract. So it handcuffs you a little bit. But kind of what we were talking about was just how he's also handcuffing them on the ice with his play. Like he really, I respect the guy. He was a really elite two-way center. I just think he's a little bit over the hill, and they're kind of forcing him into this 1C role. So when we talk about Hagens, I think Minton has really shown a lot this year. We've talked positively about him. That would be a guy that I would like to see in an elevated role.
definitely. I mean, a kid his age with the IQ that he has and the defensive play in every zone, like he kind of found a diamond in the rough. Like that trade turned out to be amazing, right? You moved off of a guy that you kind of knew what you had, and I mean, Carlo being a pretty all right defenseman, like
Oversized.
you're feeling the pain a little bit, but to get a return like that in the way that he's played, and like you said, just you've used the word a few times, the trust aspect of it, and it's the same feeling I would imagine that Sturm has. You see him late in games, in close games, he's the guy that's going over the boards, which, if you know anything about the Bruins had that for a long time in a 1C and a 2C. That interchangeable, I mean, Bergey's going out there every D-zone start late in the game, and you kind of have that with Minton. Like, the trust is there. He's gets the puck out when it needs to get out. And yeah, I mean, I think his ceiling is also higher than what a lot of people probably thought, or I know even myself. The offensive ability is there as well. I think he's a guy you put with good players, and you see him just his game get even better. So I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, yeah, he just seems like you said, like very well said. I mean, he could play with Pasternak, he can play lower in a lineup, but I've just seen enough from him that I trust him. And I said to you on the phone, I've seen enough of Elias Lindholm. Like I made the
I
joke.
will say quickly. I will say quickly about
Yeah,
Elias, just because I'm big on this with like lineups. I don't even want to throw so much like flack at Elias Lindholm because I think you almost have to look at it from like who is he playing with to really, because like you're almost saying that with Minton, right? Like I think Minton's a little bit different. He brings a certain value by himself. Whereas like I think Elias Lindholm is looked at as more of like a complementary player that needs more of a driving force on a line. So I agree
okay.
with you in the sense of right now they're literally holding him like a lemon and they're squeezing it because of how much they paid him, and they're like, we need him to be our 1C.
And
So
he's
I
been a
agree
lemon.
on that front. Yeah. And it's like you just don't, that it's not helping anyone and you're seeing it.
Yeah.
But I do think if you look at this Bruins team overall, you have a lot of guys that are very skilled, but they're not a very straight line fast player, right? The whole dynamic of the team changed a lot too when you moved on from a Jake DeBrusk, right? He was a driving force in the top six, and that was his game. He was a straight line player, very simple game. He was usually the first on pucks, good in the corners, and he was fast. Now it's like you kind of look at this lineup and it's changed a little bit, where it's like Lindholm's not very fast. We've said it numerous times. Pasta's lost his step. Middle stat, unreal hands, choppy skater. He's not the fastest guy out there by any means. So I think it's just a different look on this team right now, and I don't think it's benefiting Elias.
No, I hear you, and actually, right, I haven't heard Jake DeBrusk's name in a while, and he kind of was a replacement. Like they allocated the money that they could have given him to Elias Lindholm and gave Elias Lindholm more actually. But um, I agree with you. I guess my only pushback would just be like, and I'm not really even pushing back on what you're saying, but just watching Pasternak, and I don't think he's been as good as we would hope. Like Pasternak is incredible, but I think where he's at in his career, there's a lot of plays where he looks frustrated, and I just don't think he has enough help. And that second line has been really good. Loved Zaka. You know, we can get into that a little bit. And the second line actually 5-on-5 has scored the most even strength goals at 5-on-5 since the Olympic break. They've been an elite line. Like they're really good. I just think Pasternak's on a bit of an island, and when you have a player like that, I just want to see him supported more with a guy who can bring him something to the table. And I don't see it. Like this could be seen as an oversimplification, but I see Elias Lindholm as simply the guy they paid too much money. So let's put him with the top guy, hope he produces and hope he wins draws and back checks and plays like that responsible game that you really aren't asking Pasternak to envelop all the time because he's the deadliest player in your team. He can take chances. He can, fly the zone. He can do those things. Elias Lindholm shouldn't. I feel Minton in that role would be better just because of his foot speed. I think he's been very impressive, just his awareness on the ice, and then, like you mentioned, his skill as well. But we don't have to beat a dead horse. Uh, Marat Hustadinov, I mean, really no complaints about his game. He's been a dog. I've really liked him. And Pavel Zacha had a hat trick.
Like you always hear coaches talk about pairs on a line, right? Up and down the lineup. But it's also just like I think clear like lines or roles within a line I think only benefits the team the most. Where it's you think of Pasta, he's such a good playmaker. He's developed a shot that's world class. So it's like, how does that line succeed? And it's you need someone fast, right? You need someone that's going to be first on pucks, and I would argue someone in the middle needs to be reliable, right? Because of what you said about flying the zone and being a superstar. And you need someone that can also help out with distributing. Because the whole thing is you need guys. I mean, all of those guys, if you're in the NHL, you can shoot a puck, right? You should be able to score. But really, the most of your focus is trying to get David Pastrnak the most amount of puck touches.
Yeah.
So I just think like with this team, like I think next year, depending on how everything kind of trickles down, I think you're going to see a different look to the team. Because I would argue that putting a James Hagens with Elias Lindholm could be a beneficial thing, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like, I agree with moving. The thing with Minton moving is just, like, moving him up in the lineup more minutes. I think the matchups probably favor him a little bit better than it would an Elias Lindholm. But then I think, like, you put Hagens with a reliable 200-foot player. Elias, his matchup should be much better on a third line, right? You've said that. So I just think I'm super intrigued and like happy they're in the position that they're in because you have a lot of good pieces, and especially with Lindholm, like you're stuck with the contract. It is what it is, right? So
Yeah.
take it off the chin, tuck the chin,
Keep it
because
tucked.
punches are coming because you just signed this guy for a solid amount of money.
Brace your core. Yeah.
But yeah, with Zacha, dude, I mean, Doc, he's an animal.
Yeah, he had a hat trick against, I think it was Pittsburgh, and they lost that game, unfortunately. But yeah, he's been scared Barkov, man. Just really good. We've said it before, he's got all the tools, and I think at times he just like didn't have a toolbox to put him in. And that's a overused.
Would
kind
you
of
say
phrase,
though
but
that that's happening this year more so? Because I feel like there's a different feeling around him this
Yeah.
year with this team.
Yeah, we were talking about it the other day. I think he's the anchor of that line, and I think that's why they've yet to really Marco Sturm has yet to really put him with Pastrnak, just because how good he's been away from him, elevating that second line. So yeah, I think he's been one of the better players down the middle in the Atlantic Division. I'd go that far. He's been really good.
Yeah. I mean, another guy I wanted to talk about too is just Jonathan Aspero. Like he continues to just not amaze me, but it's just like I don't think people understand the magnitude of like what is actually going on with that. Kind of came out of nowhere, right? We've heard stories that Marco had played against him, or the team he was coaching was playing against him in the A. And he kind of heard the name rumbling around, and then Sweeney had talked a little bit about him and heard about him. And it's just, like, he continues to be on your top line. And, like, I think he's a perfect fit with Chucky Mack.
Yeah, yeah, I
Like, I
agree.
think he's been a great supporting factor for it. And I think as Bruins fans, we've pretty much been clamoring for it, especially post
Now it's recorded.
post Olympics, right? You see him with Quinn Hughes, and his game. I feel like just the reliability aspect of it, and like knowing you have someone
Yeah.
that can handle it and put you in a good spot. And
So you're almost like using the Quinn Hughes McAvoy pairing and saying like if McAvoy is the Quinn Hughes on the Bruins and Aspero is the McAvoy on Team USA. Am I getting you right?
yeah,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, I mean
I'm actually saying Jonathan Aspero is the next Quinn Hughes.
He's Quinn
You
Hughes.
heard that here.
Yeah, no. But no, you've been on him early. Like honestly, you know how it is. Like a guy like him being effective and really good at what he's doing, he's more actually under the radar than being on the radar. And I really didn't like you were the first one to kind of mention him as being really like a positive impact on the ice. And once you said that, and I started kind of paying more attention, and the season has gone on longer. Yeah, I mean, he's been great, and like you said, he did come out of nowhere. And if that's true about Marco, I never heard that, but I mean, that's really cool. I mean, just to clarify too, me talking about Elias Lindholm and all that, I've loved Marco Sturm. I think he's been excellent. That would be the only thing that I would criticize a little bit, and I also understand it. Like I get, and I think they've been decent at times. But yeah, Jonathan Aspero he's been Charlie McAvoy light. Maybe we could say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it just allows him to, I think, take more of the risk and the chances. And yeah, since the beginning of his game, the ability to close out, I've said probably 30 times, just because being once a very not good defender and like wanting to be able to do that, it's a very difficult thing. Especially you think the NHL, the speed, physicality aspect, everyone's so big. And like he's not a huge guy. But if you watch him from like the neutral zone and then as he's coming into his own D zone,
Yeah.
like as a defenseman skating backwards, like he closes out probably one of the earliest I've seen. The way he's able to angle people to the boards, pretty much he's getting guys on the boards by the top of the circles.
Yeah. He's
Which
elite. He's elite at that. Yeah.
yeah, and
That's a
it's
that's an underrated skill, and to be able to find that, it kind of reminds me, and this is an exaggeration, but Forsling a little bit.
yeah,
Florida. Like a watered down version of Forsling. He doesn't have the offense that Forsling has. But yeah, he's not the biggest guy. I mean, he's very focused on the details too, like boxing guys out in front of the net. He's always tying guys up. He's finishing his hit and eliminating his player. Like he's effective and he's focused and he obviously is working his ass off to get a job consistently. And they just signed him, didn't they?
yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah,
extended him. Yeah, as well as Steve's, they extended, and then that's been kind of an interesting one too. I don't know if you've noticed like when he was playing, it's kind of weird with the Olympic breakup here, but um, he's sat like 8 of the last 16 games or so, and since his extension, and they gave him a decent contract, and he really had a great start to the year.
yeah. It has been interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
For a while there, it seemed like Isimont was kind of on the out
Yeah.
looking in, and it
Yeah.
just didn't overly look or seem that Marco had a lot of trust in him, and that was the reason. And yeah, I mean, there was a stretch there that Steve's was lights out. We were like, geez, like because they've all kind of done it in different ways, which is funny.
Yeah.
Like you think you brought up Husnudinov, and he's another guy. Like there were like I think he's probably the most consistent, but there's been flashes of him in his game where it's like, wow, like
Yeah.
what do we actually have?
You're talking about who's enough or Steve's?
Yeah, he's
Yes.
had that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I'm saying like then you look at Steve's and he had a stretch there where he had
Definitely.
5, 6 goals.
Remember
So
that
it's like
game
they've
against
all
Toronto?
yeah.
Yeah. No, but you're right. Like you're saying they've done it in waves, like at different moments throughout the year, their depth.
Definitely, yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean I think that's probably the whole thing if you ask an NHL player of just what is the most difficult part of being in the NHL, it's they're probably going to say consistency.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's where I think you start to find out who you really have. We've made the comparables with Hoosty and Marshy, right? It's
Yeah.
kind of funny how his ability to get pucks out of the corner, but then also like
The
you
skill.
watch these guys trying to hit him, dude.
Oh yeah.
And like there's been multiple times where I'm like he's going to get blown up and then he still has the puck.
Yeah. And he's got the chippiness to him too. You see him finish that hit the other night?
Yeah.
He got a
I
penalty
love
for
that,
it.
dude.
He
Yeah.
was getting kind of like, swamped or some guy was all over him and he ended up kind of finding him in the corner and just dummying him. And he got a penalty for it, but he's unreal. He's really one of a kind with just like the lack of English and just like he looks like a little like kid out there, but he is a dog. He really does. Like the comparison to Marchand's, it's very good. He's got the elite skill and he's a puck hound. Like he is that like fourth liner prototype undersized guy with something kind of to prove. You have to work a little harder and he has the skill. And yeah, that was a great identifying him for the Bruins was huge. Brazeau, honestly, in that trade too, like he's been really good for Pittsburgh, but not Minnesota, the team he was traded to. But yeah, I mean, overall, like even with the Iceymon, I feel like he's kind of been like he's been pretty good too. And I think when he was sitting out, it was actually just because they didn't really have room. This team has just had so much depth. So Hagen's coming in here, he's gonna probably replace a guy like one of those two, Iceymon or Steves, that left wing spot. at some point. That's how I feel, and we'll see him tomorrow. And I know you got to run here, but quickly, I wanted to tease just something that we can eventually talk about. It's not imminent at all, but just in talking about the deadline and asset management, a guy like Bob Thomas comes available, and I'm glad the Bruins and Don Sweeney didn't move like Hagens, Minton in a first, like what someone reported their ask was. That's insane. Unless you really believe in Thomas. But what I said about Elias, like I do think having a guy like Bob Thomas with Pastrnak would help him a lot, and it would take this team up a level. But I don't know that mortgaging all the future players that you have that could be better than Thomas and a first would have been a smart move. But they still have those assets, and they're those players, those elite players, they don't come around a lot. But I did want to mention real quick Elias Pettersson in Vancouver. The Bruins have gotten a few guys from Vancouver. Zadorov, they moved. DeBrusk moved over there. They got Elias Lindholm. Elias Pettersson's had a wild run here, but he's a very interesting case just with like how much money he's making, and I just feel like that could be really. Like, I'm not saying to do it, but I think it could be a very interesting reclamation project, similar to Zaka, similar to Middlestat, with the amount of skill that he has and the fact that the price to get him because of his $11.5 million contract might not be that high. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, that name's come up before, right? Like, I
Yeah,
feel like
they've
there's been
definitely had
convers
discussions. Yeah,
yeah, there's definitely been discussions around him and play style and what the fit would be like in Boston. I do think it's very interesting on the side of just what his ceiling could be
yeah,
and what you've already seen it to kind of be. So I
100
would
points.
definitely hear out those conversations and see because it almost feels like honestly, dude, like different spots around the league just call for different things. So
Mm,
it's like guys that have come into Boston. It's almost this mentality or culture within the room where it's like you either adopt it or you get out.
yeah,
And really, there's never really been a ton of drama around it where guys come in and you see them almost like change. And there's like a confidence with being a Boston Bruin and the guys kind of have your back and there's not this like you see some of these teams and it's like a yard sale sometimes, dude, just like
yeah,
making remarks to the media or chirping each other or whatever. So it's like and I'm saying that because you think of like his career and what has kind of transpired. There's been a lot of that.
yeah,
It's been a very like hostile environment that he's been in. Obviously, the market is tough, but like you said, I mean, a project, him coming to Boston, you almost want to bet on the fact that him changing or having a change of scenery and it being Boston
yeah.
and playing with elite players and it would only do him good, and the Bruins could definitely reap the benefits of that.
Yeah, no, what very well said. And again, this could be crazy, never happened, but it kind of just smells like a Don Sweeney buy low kind of guy because, we've talked about like Minton. Like, is he an elite 1C? I don't know. Is Laterno? I don't know. Is James Hagens? I don't know. He's had a lot of success on the wing. I saw a stat about that. I will say that some of the responses were the fact that his line mates, when he was playing down the middle, weren't really top players. So he was kind of the only guy on that line and having to play down the middle. Maybe that team has just benefited from him playing on the wing with two of their better players. Who really knows? We will get to see it tomorrow, but um, like you said before, you just don't know with any of these guys. And maybe Elias Pettersson can be a guy who's 26, 27 next year. And yeah, who knows? So I thought it was interesting, who knows happens with Matthews and all these guys. So it's good that the Bruins, just this is kind of like the deadline recap. It's good that they didn't go all in and do anything crazy. We'll see if they get in. I think they're going to. But overall, still happy, still in a pretty good spot. Deadline was kind of boring because of the double retention stuff and all of that. Obviously, Kadri moved over. The Avs got a bunch of moves. Got a few different pretty impactful players. But one other thing that I did want to say just before we jumped off was the the shooting that happened at that Rhode Island rink.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Did you see the kid? The recent
Yeah, the goal.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Like something I didn't even really think about. A forgotten part of that story of the shooting in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, I believe it was at that rink. The trans father, that's a Russian doll. I don't know what that even really means, but he killed his family at a hockey game. I think it was the end of the season. He went into a hockey rink and killed three members of his family, I believe, and then he killed himself. Terrible thing, but his son, I think his son is the last member of that family, and that's just like a tragic thing. So I do have his name here, and not that he's gonna hear this, but if anyone who's listening wants to look it up and just see, it was just pretty cool. Like sometimes hockey, and we've talked about this before. Like I remember you've always said how much of an escape the game of hockey is. Like watching it for sure, but also playing it, and that comparison of kind of when excuse me, when you step on the ice and all the noise just kind of quiets down. And for this kid to go out, his name is Colin Dorgan, whose trans father murdered his mother, brother, grandpa at the hockey rink. He scored the game-winning goal in overtime, sending his team to the championship. And he wore a tribute patch on his jersey for his lost loved ones. So, um, yeah, man, I just think that's a pretty cool story. Terrible what he has to go through and that he's left to deal with the remains of that tragedy, but just another thing of like the game of hockey. There's a reason that kid's in that game and he's not sitting at home, crying about it. It's because he wanted to play, he wanted to be with his teammates, go to the rink, and yeah, I just thought that was a really cool story.
Yeah, no, I had seen that earlier. Yeah, I think it was earlier today, and I'm glad you brought it up because that was something I wanted to talk about. Obviously, super sad whole situation, but yeah, I mean, puck don't lie, right? Like the game serves all of us in so many different ways. Whether it's you're going out on a beer league or you're still playing competitively, whatever it is, like it is just more than a game. I think that's why hockey's growing so much even now, like just post Olympics and everything with that. So good on him. Obviously, he's probably still obviously battling everything, but what a winner too, 5-0.
Yeah. Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah, so we're gonna see that game tomorrow. That'll be fun. And then we'll be watching Hagens with a close eye. He's on pace for 48 points in 37 games. So kind of putting all those didn't dominate. He's not Macklin Celebrini. Like, yeah, he's not, but this very well could still be a dynamic top six forward for a long time. So a lot of exciting stuff.
I did want to ask you too. I know we
Yeah.
talked about it a little bit, but I was watching it the other night, and it was just kind of a crazy sequence. But the McKinnon hit,
Yeah.
I believe who was in net? It was Ingram, right? Because
Yeah.
then, yeah. So like, just you have any thoughts on that? Or I would imagine, I mean,
Yeah.
I'd seen it on Instagram as well. So anyone that is listening probably saw it.
Yeah, for sure. So it was it was one of those plays, the Sam Bennett special, or Chris Kreider used to get a lot of heat for driving the net and kind of like injuring goalies accidentally on purpose or just kind of being reckless. But yeah, McKinnon, to be honest, like, did you hear what the coach Jared Bednar said after?
Yeah, I did.
I agreed with him. And I think he took a lot of heat for it because he was quoted as saying, I don't care if the goalie's injured. But like what he meant was more of just like it's not a factor because the defenseman shoved him into his own net. So that's a play I've seen a lot, and I get it. It's NHL defensemen getting worried that they're about to get burned and be a -1, and they make a split second like shove, push. And when a guy's going around your goalie that fast, you can fucking kill your goalie with a play like that. And
Yeah.
I don't know. Like he was a little reckless. He was tight, but I guarantee
That was my only thing. That
Yeah,
that lane was very tight. More so the angle that he was coming at. I feel like a lot of the times those plays when you see that happen or potentially happen,
coming straight in.
They're almost coming. Yeah, it's more straight in or like from the dot, and then they're curling in. Whereas that, like I feel like he was somewhat low on the circle.
But
I'd have to rewatch it.
wasn't he getting a pass back door though? Wasn't it like a puck was coming to him?
Yeah, he was, but yeah, I mean that's your angle. Like you're cutting more straight across, whereas yeah, I mean the closeout should have happened earlier. I mean I think if Nurse probably could have had a choice, he would have done that. But
Yeah.
I mean McKinnon's a horse. Like
Yeah.
I think you could put Watrous, me, and you all together, and he would just individually hit all three of us,
Yeah.
and still elbow the goalie in the face. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I definitely do think that it happens all the time. You see it.
Well, dude, remember the fucking the Sam Bennett on Charlie Coyle? It was
Yeah.
kind of the opposite. But like that's kind of the stuff that the NHL sometimes just doesn't really figure out where it's like in my opinion, and I agree. Like Bednar pointed out that McKinnon's feet were pointed away from the goalie. So like if you look at his feet, he's gonna head in the direction of his feet. He really wasn't gonna collide. Like maybe it was tight, and he was probably cutting. The defender, the lane, like you said, was tight. But overall, I don't think it would have been nearly as bad if he didn't get knocked off balance by the defenseman. And that's a very valid thing. Like, what if, you're driving the net and someone trips you and you fucking concuss a goalie and everyone's like starts punching your head in because you hurt the goalie? It's like, dude, I got tripped. Like, what do you want
Yeah,
me
it's
to
just
do?
a hockey play.
Yeah.
It's a game of inches. I mean, on both sides of the puck. Like as a defenseman, you're not going to allow. Like that's why it happens so much because whether it's like you don't want to just get beat from an ego standpoint. I mean, at the end of the day, you just don't want to get beat especially to the post.
No, no,
So
exactly.
it's like you're trying to kind of close off as much as you can. I mean, it's a world class talent that's
Yeah.
coming at you. You
Yeah.
don't. There's not much you can do. So I just thought it was crazy. Like it wasn't as I think after seeing it post, like it actually happening, it kind of was like all right, like that wasn't that bad. But
Yeah.
I was watching the game live and I was just like, damn. And then you see like the cut. I feel like you don't see goalies get cut that often.
I didn't see the cut. Where was it?
Like right on his forehead.
So it must have been his own cage or his own helmet
Yeah,
that
like,
hit
helmet.
to the
Yeah.
post or hit the ice or McKinnon.
Yeah,
Like you said,
McKinnon's elbow put his cage through his forehead.
it's like what's the movie The Longest Yard? Remember when
Yeah.
he like kicks the guy's helmet and just completely dents the cage? Shout out to Adam Sandler. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, like you said, it's hockey. I mean, it just kind of yeah, maybe not ego, but just the like if he doesn't make any kind of play to push McKinnon because he's thinking I might shove him into my own goalie, he might get clipped on Edmonton Oilers Twitter and be like, "Fucking look at this guy, he's not even trying." So
Well, they can't have two Bouchards.
yeah, yeah,
One's enough.
yeah. He's had a really good year. But yeah, I mean his game is defensively on the other side.
Defensively,
I
yeah.
haven't seen enough good things of that. But
And
analytically,
I've seen
yeah,
too many of the clips that are just funny where it's him just
yeah.
like getting beat and then just not even attempting to
Yeah, it is funny. The knees aren't even
backcheck.
bent. Like
No.
he's got no ankle to knee like ratio. It's just
And
literally
it's just the body language too, I feel like.
yeah.
Like you almost see him and it's just like, well, I got beat.
He's a PP guy. He's literally just
Yeah.
a puck moving power play defenseman. And but to be fair, like, I don't know, if you can shelter him a little bit, you just need better defenders around him. Like he's bringing an elite skill that most defensemen don't have too. But yeah, I mean, even against Florida. Remember I think Reinhardt diddled him in the last goal in the last game when they beat him in six last year. And like he's just been embarrassed. He's been on the bad side of a lot of highlights. But yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, man. How about this? Who's your cup? Who's your cup pick?
I almost want I would say I want Minnesota just because I think they're just a fun team. Like you got the Felinos together now, the brothers squad, them getting Hughes. I mean, another U.S. guy, Matt Boldy. I love his game. You got Kaprizov. It's just like a very fun team to watch.
Mm.
And obviously they haven't done it here for however long. So like I would love to see that. And it's just like I don't know, like Colorado. Do I really want to? I don't like Colorado. Like
Yeah, no
they just kind
neither.
of annoy me.
Yeah, I think like if I was a fan of them, I would like them, but they are kind of like a Panthers a little bit, where it's like McKinnon's a guy who you would love on your team, but you really wouldn't, you don't really like him from the outside, you know? He's just not the most like,
For us, it's a double whammy too, because he's a Canadian
yeah,
as well. So
it was funny to watch what happened to him. Like,
yeah,
what a fucking, just him getting handed the fucking, the
his
teddy bear.
brain literally broke.
I'm glad you put that in the puck don't lie because I did think that picture. I was watching it when I was watching it live. I thought it was just a hilarious moment of him just kind of like realizing what had just happened. Like he just missed a few empty nets. They lost to US in the gold medal game, and he's being handed a fucking teddy bear and silver medal. Did you see Jack Hughes did that Cane's chicken commercial with Caroline Harvey?
I did.
She's beautiful, by the way, dude. I love that. Love that woman. But did you see that he was asked about the little teddy bear plush toy?
Yeah, and she had to pretty much explain it to him on what it was.
Yeah. And it just his response was great. He was like, "Oh yeah, it's back in my room." He didn't even know what because they gave it a name, and he's like, "What, dude?" The guy got so shit faced the second they won that game. So many things happened. His family, everybody. They flew to Miami, Washington. So yeah, he doesn't
I
know.
did think
Not
I
keep.
did think it was funny too. I saw a clip from the Kachuk's podcast, Wingman or whatever it is.
I listened to their interview with Biz, by the way. Great.
Yeah, yeah,
Highly
very good.
recommend.
Yeah, I listened to that last night, I think.
Me too.
But it was funny. Kachuk, I think it might have been in that one that he was talking about Brady. He was talking about just like the after party and stuff, and that I forget how he worded it, but he attracts like middle aged men to
Yeah.
like talk hockey with him. And then he's like, you look over at Hughes and it's just like girls everywhere around him. But
Yeah.
then it was just like he doubled down on it again. He was just like, yeah, like what you're looking at right here, it just attracts middle aged men just talking hockey.
Talking puck. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
They're both beauties. I was actually talking to my dad about how I told him they have a podcast. It's cool that that's huge for the game, man. And obviously so is them winning the Olympic gold and Matt winning a cup. Like it's just giving the game so much extra eyes.
Did you ever get through to your dad? Because I remember Matt Kachuk was a kind
Yeah.
of a sore.
So he's actually turned the corner a little bit on Kachuk with USA for sure. He still would fight Sam Bennett in a grocery store if he ran into him. But Matt Kachuk, he says, like, I get it a little bit. He likes Brady. And by the way, they also did mention a bunch of things about Boston in that interview.
Yeah,
Biz brought up RA, Brady, and
best on best.
yeah, they mentioned in the best on best conversation about the four nations and just there was a voicemail too. They listened to a couple funny voicemails. One was a guy from Boston and just saying he loves them and he's so proud. It sounded like the Shane Gillis football coach, junior
Yeah.
varsity football coach. I'm so proud to watch you guys on my couch. But yeah, so I don't know. That could be another thing that if you have your, Toronto's first and Florida's first, maybe Brady Tkachuk becomes available eventually.
Yeah, I mean, full circle moment right there, right? Beginning of the conversation, you retained all of your assets. You're then in a position where, I mean, I would like that would be easier for me to unload things. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? Whether it's the picks or a pick and
Prospect.
a prospect, like it's just easier at that point to get a guy like Brady Tkachuk. He's young, like he still isn't even at his peak. Like I'd love to see him in a different market, and he would be amazing in Boston. I mean,
Yeah.
is
Dude,
there more of a guy that screams Boston than him? He played at BU.
yeah. He's a big giant. He does look like the Goonies guy. Have you seen that
Yeah.
comparison? Hey, you guys. Yeah, he's a beauty though. Like Matt is a little older and more mature, I would probably say, at least ability to like speak. Like he does a lot more of the talking on the podcast, but they do a good job over there and I'm sure those two just sit down and, have a couple things at the top of their head. But the producers kind of like ask them questions, fill in the blanks and but they did mention Matthew was laughing at Brady's warm-up routine too. I'm sure you heard about he said he would tape his hand that was injured. He had surgery on,
Yeah.
and then he'd be warming up in a big wide open area where the other team can see him, and all the guys on the team would be like, Brady, why are you showing them your injury? Essentially, why don't you wait until after? And he'd go, I want him to know. I want him to target it. They're all like, this guy's fucking nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the two of them in a locker room, you see them publicly, but you can only imagine behind closed doors. And
Yeah. And they just also his like actual routines of he was doing like neck curls, like it's just he's a wild guy. He's wearing a tank top, a bandana, he's taping his wrists, and he looks like he's 6'4", just a mutant. He's the definition of a mutant. And yeah, Biz, who he was, and like the funny glue guy on a team, they both were kind of mentioning that that's kind of the role that they played on the US team. So, obviously full circle too with play Freebird and everything we've done and hyped this up and kind of predicting them winning. I did also want to mention real quick too that they I thought my comparison to the Russian team was kind of fair. Just
Yeah.
looking back, like again, we've said it wasn't a miracle then, and it won't be one now, but they were an underdog. They were a big time underdog, and they knew they had to, if, in one game, they just have to punch them in the mouth, and they fucking did that. I mean, you need great goaltending. But yeah, I think we can wrap it up there.
it was a good one.
Good shit, man. Well, thanks for listening. If you got this far, see a therapist, seek professional help. And yeah, go Bruins. The NHL is buzzing. We're in a really good spot with hockey. It's good talking to you. We'll have Jake on next time. Shout out to Wattsburg. And a lot of new merch coming.